Welcome back to Free Media. I'm Robby Soave.
I'm Andrew Heaton.
Allegedly. Stephen Colbert made a big claim this week. He says his bosses wouldn't let him run his interview with Texas State Senator James Talarico, and so he released it online instead. Now, the reason was legal fears that doing so would violate the FCC's equal time rule, which requires broadcasters to interview both candidates or multiple candidates right before the relevant election.
You know who is not one of my guests tonight? That's Texas State Representative James Talarico. He was supposed to be here, but we were told in no uncertain terms by our network's lawyers, who called us directly, that we could not have him on the broadcast. Then I was told in some uncertain terms that not only could I not have him on, I could not mention me not having him on. And because my network clearly doesn't want us to talk about this, let's talk about this.
CBS denied Colbert's claim that they had blocked him. The network said in response, The Late Show was not prohibited by CBS from broadcasting the interview with Representative James Talarico. The show was provided legal guidance that the broadcast could trigger the FCC equal time rule for two other candidates, including Representative Jasmine Crockett, and presented options for how the equal time for other candidates could be fulfilled. The Late Show decided to present the interview through its YouTube channel with on-air promotion on the broadcast rather than potentially providing the equal time options.
Jasmine Crockett acknowledged that the entire kerfuffle has probably helped her opponent, Talarico, get even more attention.
So, listen, I will tell you that I have no love for Barry Weiss. I have no love for Brendan Carr whatsoever. But I do think that, as you also mentioned, Kimmel, it is important that we resist in this moment. And so there were a number of options that could be put on the table. And frankly, the Late Show decided that this was the option. And I think that it was a good strategy. I mean, look at what happened when they tried to censor CCOT. We found out that you could get a lot more views. So I think it probably gave my opponent the boost he was looking for.
In fact, Talarico raised $2.5 million in the 24 hours following the news. And it's really interesting. It's kind of a meta point. Like, if you look at how many millions of people saw it on YouTube, on social media, clips of it, the audience for Colbert is only like 2 million people. This is a total Streisand effect thing where more people are paying attention to it, learning about Talarico. Unless it's just Texas primary voters watching the Stephen Colbert Late Show, then this was a big thing.
Brilliant coup on Talarico's campaign's part and how they spun this. Because Jasmine Crockett, regardless of what you think of her politics, is main character. In every room she's in, she is absolutely the main character. Talarico, who I assume I would vote for over Ken Paxton because of internal Texas politics, I lived there for a while, noting that kind of a Kirkland version of Beto O'Rourke, sort of a Timu Beto, not nearly as...
Beto.
Beto. He's not as strong as Jasmine Crockett. So in a head-to-head campaign...
I can't believe it's not Beto. Sorry, you're the funny one.
In a head-to-head campaign between him and Jasmine Crockett, she's going to win. She's going to suck the oxygen out of the room. How can you change that, though? You turn it into, we are fighting the Trump administration.
Yes.
And Brendan Carr, the FCC commissioner, who, by the way, should be impeached and removed from office, he is at fault for this. Now, I have no love for Brendan Carr. I would also vote for Talarico over Brendan Carr if he were running for the Senate. But the issue here is that Carr put out a memorandum, I think in January, saying that they were going to start enforcing the equal time rule. Tellingly, they were going to do it for late night television or cable television, broadcast news, not for radio, because the conservatives are now using all of the regulations they used to rightly decry in a way to weaponize things, which is why he should be impeached. But they brought that up. It was a general thing. It wasn't Brendan Carr talking to Colbert or CBS specifically.
Right, he did not,
as happened with Kimmel a few months ago.
Right. Their attorneys said we might violate this new understanding.
But this is a way better thing to do. Rather than saying, CBS put us on YouTube because they were afraid of potentially violating equal time rules, we are being suppressed by Trump because Trump fears our campaign. It's us versus Trump, not us versus Jasmine Crockett. So remember, all of your hatred for Trump, lend that to us when you go to the primaries.
Right. They could have just had Crockett. Look, honestly, this seems to me like a perfectly valid interpretation of that rule, which I don't think should exist in the first place.
It's a stupid rule.
I think the rule doesn't make any sense today, especially for the exact reason that, like, it used to be the fear was there's a handful of these broadcast channels, there's a limited bandwidth for how the technology works, so the government has to have some interest in making sure they're not all controlled by the same perspective or whatever, because there's a finite number of
and the deal was they would license you in exchange for you agreeing to pro-social
But now
coverage.
there is, again, YouTube. There are a bajillion people
Cable
watching.
television's not subject to the FCC, though it voluntarily adheres to it most of the time.
So many competing platforms that offer news and information are freewheeling, don't have any of these restrictions. The idea of just one perspective or one interest or one party controlling access to the information these days is ludicrous. It's harder than ever. So why should these handful have to follow this rule when no one else does?
Because they're weaponizing it now. I mean, that like I think they took away the fairness doctrine in the 80s under Reagan, and they were right to do it for the reasons that you bring up. The logic was we have 3 television stations in the whole country, and they're using public airwaves, and if you want to have a license, you have to provide basic information. Once we expanded to having myriad radio, all these different things, it no longer made sense. And even functionally speaking, now we're not talking about the fairness doctrine, but it is a correlate to this. The fairness doctrine is kind of stupid, in that the fairness doctrine that's now been put to rest required that you have to give equal airtime to various positions. How do you determine that?
Yeah,
like on my show, The Political Orphanage, at least once a year, somebody emails me to debate me about whether the Earth is flat. Do I have to give them time? If I were adhering to the fairness doctrine, I would say that's stupid. I'm not going to do it.
But you're being bought and paid for by Round Earth, Big Earth.
Big Earth. I'm on. There's a globe company that pays for it. Yeah. No, I think the reason I bring this up is the fairness doctrine.
I hope you sleep at night.
The fairness doctrine was this bromide that progressives had for 20, 30 years because they thought they could use it to knock out radio, which was very conservative, and if they applied it to radio, it would do it. And now I'm dismayed to see the conservatives picking it up and going, using equal use time.
Well, any weapon of the enemy is going to be used. The Republican Party has no qualms whatsoever at this point. Those of us who even for one second thought they might, when they had this unprecedented moment to control government at every level, might have used it at all in any way to blunt the instruments of coercion. That did not happen at all, and is not happening, and will be the weapons will be available.
Maybe if we give them more money and power, maybe they'll come around. Let me ask you a couple questions. Do you think that Colbert is being honest in his portrayal of these events? He is saying that CBS did not allow him to bring on Talarico unless he brought. Well, he didn't quite phrase it that way, but unless he brought on Jasmine Crockett. Do you think he's being honest in that regard?
I think he's exaggerating it a little bit. I think the lawyers said to him, we are worried we could be in jeopardy if you just air an interview with Talerico. So here are the options, is to just put it on YouTube or to also invite on Jasmine Crockett. And I think he decided to throw a hissy fit about it and say, we've been silenced by the network. Look, it's his bosses, so they don't want to have it. They've got to do it the way they want to do it. They've had on Crockett before. And again, I don't like the vagueness of the rule is a problem. Because
you have to bring on third parties? The answer is no, you don't have to bring on third parties.
Well, right, and what if there's someone, Andrew Heaton, that other Andrew Heaton who's in the Epstein files, is running or something, and he's an obscure candidate getting 0.001% of the vote. Yeah. We got to bring him on. What if, Jasmine Crockett was on the Colbert show, just not recently, so is it clear when it counts? It's, again, silly rule, shouldn't be followed. Stephen Colbert's mad about everything going on in his life, so wanted to make it a big deal. But the bottom line is, I think it will help Talerico, and I think if he becomes the candidate, he will be a pretty formidable candidate against, it looks like Ken Paxton, who you know more about than I do, but
follows me on Twitter. At least he did. Huh?
Seems like a Kerry Lake situation to me, where Republicans are going to...
The legislature tried to oust him as Attorney General. And when I say the legislature, I mean the Republicans in the legislature, because Texas is a one-party state.
Well, yeah, they're all Trump-hating cucks. They hate Trump. They're in bed with Democrats.
This is one of the fun things about Texas when I was there is, if you want to run for office in Texas, you're not really running against Democrats. You're running against evil, fake Republicans like Greg Abbott. who is an evil fake Republican, but I am the true conservative.
Primary voters. This is not a good system where like the most extreme, insane in both parties are the ones picking the candidate.
Side note, it is. This is stupid bullshit because we make the political parties quasi-political entities. Like the Republican and Democratic Party should have as much ability to put or knock out something on the ballot as the Chamber of Commerce as a teachers union.
I agree.
So like if the fire department wants to give their blessing to a candidate, they should absolutely be allowed to do that. We shouldn't give the fire department a permanent status on the ballot where they pick it, and now we got to pick between the fire department and the Chamber of Commerce. Everything should be caucuses.
I think the smoke-filled rooms was a perfectly fine system. Fat old people saying, we need somebody from Ohio to balance out this ticket. That was a fine system to me.
To back up, do you think that if Talarico takes it, he will be more formidable than Jasmine Crockett?
Oh, absolutely. In the general, yeah. I do. Now, I mean, she might be what the primary voters want. Again, it's very similar to the Republican side, where it's very clear to me Talarico is the more electable candidate.
You think? I mean, like I know very little about him. All I know is literally from the last 48 hours. But he does strike me as a little bland, based on what little I've seen.
Yeah.
Jasmine Crockett's not bland. She'd get a hell of a lot of media attention. But you think that just being so progressive and loud, she'd alienate the voters?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. That's exactly what I think.
Yeah.
Well, that does it. Thanks for watching Free Media this week. We appreciate it. Let us know how we're doing. Like, share, and subscribe. Send our videos to your friends, your enemies, perhaps. And we'll be back at some point with more content.
Until next time, I've been Robby Soave.
Introducing misinformation, and I'm the Andrew Heaton who is in the Epstein Files. Bye-bye.